Hi guys, and welcome back to the Early Bird Photo News. Last week, long before everyone else, I told you guys about Canon's plans of not releasing an R5 Mark II or R1 this year and 3 telezooms instead. But that's not actually all the news. My sources have shared some more awesome intel with me that I want to discuss with you guys in this video. But before we do that, I wanted to show you the latest addition to my camera lineup. I have an R6 Mark II now on loan for a few weeks. When the camera came out initially, I was so sick that I couldn't really do anything with it, so I didn't bother buying one or getting one on loan. But now I finally got my hands on one and I'm quite excited to be taking it out into the field and comparing it to my R7, R3 and R5s. And I must say, the first impression has really surprised me. I was expecting to see another kind of R6, but the body has changed a lot. The buttons are all in the right spaces now. The camera feels really awesome, and the Canon has improved the joystick on the back, for instance. The ISO wheel is nicer, and having the dedicated video and photo switch on the top left now is also awesome. And I'm absolutely looking forward to be using the camera over the next few weeks. The first thing I did when I got the camera was take it out of the box, turn it on, and then change all the things in the menu that need to be changed. A few tweaks here and there, and especially what I always want to do on Canon mirrorless cameras is to set up double back button autofocusing. So I have the eye tracking on the AF on button and then the normal autofocus on the star button. That helps me a lot to navigate the autofocusing system and to make sure that I can always focus on what I ever need to focus on. I'm also planning to make a full setup video for you guys so you can see exactly how I set up my R6 Mark II, and it will hopefully help you to set up your own R6 Mark II or other Canon cameras. I also have a couple lenses on loan from Canon for a few weeks that I want to use with my R7. Do you have any ideas what they might be? Let me know in the comments. But let's get back to the major news. It looks like there will be a huge firmware update coming for the R5. My sources said it's quite unusual because there have been meetings and announcements scheduled around a firmware update, something that usually doesn't happen for that kind of stuff. So they expect it to be something huge and something that will put the R5 on par or ahead of some of these other cameras. I assume with Canon's decision to delay the R5 Mark II until 2024, they feel like they need to bring the current R5 up to speed. It's a great camera as it is, but even a camera like an R8 has a lot of features that an R5 currently doesn't have, and I don't think that really fits into the lineup properly. So the decision to bring out a big firmware update seems right and is something we should all get very excited about as R5 users. So let's look at some of these things that I think Canon should and will address in the firmware update. First of all, scrap the ridiculous 29:59 recording limit for video. Install the new autofocusing system that we first seen in the R3 and now have an improved version of it in the R6 Mark II. So I would hopefully hope that Canon can install that system on the R5, or at least some sort of version of that system, whatever is possible via a firmware update. That should also get the improved eye recognition of certain more animals like horses and deer. And overall, it should just have even better improved tracking and the ability to have subject tracking from all modes, even like spot autofocus, for instance. It would also be nice to have optional shutter sounds coming to the R5, so in the electronic shutter mode, it's not always completely silent. I would also love to see the ability to choose different frame rates in the electronic shutter. So it's not just 20 frames per second, but maybe like 10 in 5 and 1 frame per second as well. I also totally expect Canon to install the pre-burst feature into the R5, something that basically all Canon camera bodies have now except for the Mark III. In the field, this feature is only somewhat usable because the problem with it is that every time you use it, you half press the shutter button, it starts recording, and when you fully press the shutter button, it takes all your images, but then you have to wait until the buffer clears completely before you can take another photo. So it kind of disables your camera for a few seconds after taking that burst. So you might take the first initial moment, but if you want to take another photo, you might miss out on that photo. So that's why I haven't used that feature a lot in the field, but I think it can be helpful in certain situations. So I definitely would love to see it in the R5 as well. There's probably a few more things that should come to the R5 or the firmware update that I currently can't think of, but I would also like to know from you guys, are there any other things besides what I've said already that you would love to see in a firmware update to the current R5? What actually excites me the most about all of this is not that we only get better R5s now, but also likely we'll get a properly improved R5 Mark II in 2024 alongside an even better R1. So that's really exciting news. And I think it also allows us to put some money aside because both of these cameras are likely not going to be cheap. It also makes me wonder if Canon will actually beat Sony to the punch when it comes to firmware updates. We've been hearing about an A1 firmware update that adds eye tracking in video mode, for instance, for a long time, but lately there's gotten very quiet around that, and I was actually wondering the other day what's happening with that. Hopefully, for all A1 users, that will be coming soon, because I think that will be a very welcome addition to have some of the new features also in the A1. Talking about firmwares, we also have a new firmware for the old R6 and the R7. So if you have any of these cameras, I would recommend installing those firmwares. It's been a long time since I've been properly out in the field due to my illness, but I'm finally able to go back out into the field again. So I'm really looking forward to a trip to the Outback with a few mates the next few days to test out the R6 and hopefully take some awesome images of some major Mitchell cockatoos. Are you guys stuck when it comes to image editing and you're not quite sure how to take your dull, boring looking RAW file to an amazing looking final image? If that's the case, I would love to help you with my Pro Sets and Masterclass. They will not only save you a lot of time, but enable you to get the absolute most out of your own images. With my Pro Sets, I enable you with just one click to transform your RAW files into a fantastic starting point for the editing process. And in my Masterclass, I teach you step by step everything you need to know in Photoshop to make your own images look amazing. So make sure to check these out down there in the description. I know they will help you a lot to improve your image editing. It sounds like Sony is getting ready to introduce 3 new cameras over the next few months, with one likely being an updated vlogging camera, one being a more entry-level camera, and a third sort of mystery camera. I wonder, is it going to be the A9 III or is it going to be a completely different camera, and we still have to wait a little bit longer to see what kind of successor Sony has in mind for the current A9 II. I know the A9 III will be a very exciting camera, especially if it has more than 30 megapixels. Recently, Elon Musk introduced an $8.99 per month subscription model to get the blue check mark on Twitter. And now, since Mark Zuckerberg loves copying things, this, let's call it, feature is also coming to Instagram. And now for, I think, $11.99 per month, at least here in Australia, you can pay and get your blue check mark on Instagram as well. What do you guys think about this trend of just paying for more and more services via a subscription model, especially if it's kind of silly things like a blue check mark? In the past, the blue check mark was kind of reserved for famous people, but now everyone has the ability to get it if they're willing to pay for it. I know you don't need a blue check mark, but this might also just be the beginning, and there will be other services offered for just an extra $5 a month, like more reach or something like that down the track. Are you guys happy about subscription models? I know personally I don't really like them, but there's certain ones I actually subscribe to, like the Adobe subscription model, because it just adds so much value to my life. I always have the latest Photoshop version, the latest Lightroom version, and it just helps me with my image editing. So I'm happy to pay for that, but I'm also running it as a business, so it's easier to pay for things like that. Recently, there's one other subscription service I actually kind of resigned to signing up for, and that's YouTube Premium. I never wanted to sign up for it. I thought it's a waste of money, but then I actually accidentally clicked trial the 1 month free trial on my phone. And it was very hard to go back because I really enjoy YouTube with no ads at all, and YouTube Music without ads as well, and having the ability to listen to YouTube Music in the car, for instance. So for now, I've signed up for it and see how I go with it. But that's definitely another subscription service that kind of added some value to my life, because I watch a lot of YouTube videos and not having any ads definitely helped me. Is there subscription services that you guys like or absolutely hate and would never subscribe to? Let me know in the comments. Also, before you go, I think you should definitely check out some of my other videos if you enjoyed this video, like some great gear reviews and some in the field videos where I teach you techniques that you can instantly implement to improve your own photography. So make sure to check out some of these, check out my Masterclass and Pro Sets. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. Give me a thumbs up for the video. And like always, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video very soon. Bye guys.